NSMeettheshu podcast. And I am Sade.
I'm Nina.
I'm April.
So April is here. This month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we're going to talk to my friend April, which I've been knowing for 28 years or so. Showing my age now. Anyway, so she's going to tell us a story, of what happened with her incident of domestic violence abuse. I don't know if you want to tell the listeners, a little bit of history, where you born, and are you from Rochester area?
I was born in Norfolk, Virginia, but I lived in Winona for about the first 14 years of my life.
Okay.
And then I moved to Lewiston, and then I moved to Rochester when I was 21.
Okay. All right. And how was that move? What did that do for you?
I liked it. I met a whole new group of people, Sade.
Okay. All right.
Not a lot of people that are family that aren't family, but they're family.
Okay. Okay. So what, you have a story for us about some things that you went through? Would you like to let the viewers know?
Sure. It was 2 in the morning and the young man came home paranoid and delusional from his everyday, all-day use of drugs. He accuses the young woman of having boyfriends hiding in the closet, and he begins to start punching her repeatedly in the abdomen, each punch sending her 15 to 20 feet backwards. The second punch was the worst, making him seem as strong as John Cena, as she weighed only 140 pounds. He disappeared into the garage, and the young woman cannot get up. He returns with a rubber maul. The only thing she can think is he is going to finish the job. He lays there unable to move. He uses all of his force to swing the maul into her stomach. She is now unresponsive, lying there, full of blood. Unknowing of how long she has been unconscious, she comes to dazed and confused. With all of her strength and soul, she crawls her way out of the house into the safety, underneath the safety of the neighbor's tree. She is awakened only to find that he is pulling her back into the house and downstairs by her hair. The young woman begins to vomit what looks like deep, dark coffee grounds, which is a clear indication that she was hemorrhaging.
Oh, wow.
She begins to hear her abuser moving around upstairs. She is fearing the worst. He is now coming downstairs to get ready to work, leaving her for dead, or so it seems. He then leaves, and she cries for help. She mustered up only enough strength for one scream. Why can't anyone hear her, she thinks. Why are there no sirens? She begins to pray. Finally, she can hear sirens approaching. She cannot scream anymore, and she feels as though she is going to die. Finally, the young woman awakens only to find out it was 23 days later. She is attached to an oxygen machine and has numerous tubes and IVs everywhere. The doctors ask, "Ma'am, is there anyone you would like us to call?" Having alienated all friends and family to be with this ma'am, she musters up, "No, sir." The doctors and surgeons explain to her that she has lost a kidney and her spleen has been removed. She attempts to sit up only to find she cannot due to the 72 staples placed vertically down the center of her abdomen. She is told she is lucky to be alive. You see, the young woman in this story, she no longer believes in luck. You see, I believe it is only by the grace of God that I'm here and alive to tell you guys my story today.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I want to know, how long were you with him?
For approximately 3 years.
3 years. And do you have any children with him?
No, I do not.
How did you meet him?
Through a friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your first sign of incident because that was the first time that happened to you, right?
That was the first time.
Okay.
Very first time.
And did it end there? Did you stop after that incident? Did you get back?
He has seeked me out and sought me out before after getting out of jail. He actually got only 2.5 years for what he did to me.
Okay.
And 12 years for his drug case.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, first I want to applaud you for having the strength to move past that situation as far as him being locked up.
Right.
And knowing that it's not okay at all to stay with somebody that's abusive, especially physically. What were the red flags that you seen prior to the situation outside of it being physical?
I never ever even realized what a red flag was until after the incident happened, and I started advocating, and I really started looking at like the domestic violence pattern, where there was red flags like not being allowed to talk to your friends. If I was on the phone, I had to be in the presence of him. You know, just little stuff that I really didn't think much about. But now I'm just like, wow, I really did that. Like I lived like that.
So what was it about, like, your friends that are family that he didn't want you to deal with them while being with him? Like,
he just wanted the control, like that I was in the house doing what he wanted to do, and him doing what he wanted to do when he wanted to do.
So even like when he went to work, or you went to work, or you couldn't do
when
anything?
when I went to work, I had there was certain times of the day that he wanted me to call and check in with him.
Oh wow!
So he was really
like
controlling.
on my breaks.
Every break he wanted you to call.
There were times if I didn't get a break because I was working in the restaurant and you just didn't know, never had those extra moments.
Right.
If I didn't call, then he would just show up at my job.
What?
Really?
And wasn't that embarrassing to your employees? I know.
Oh, extremely embarrassing.
What did they say?
I usually played it off like he just missed me.
Yeah,
Right.
I was constantly making
up stories
excuses.
for 'em. Yep. That's what we end up doing.
Right.
Making excuses for their behavior.
Yes. And what do you say to someone that is going through domestic abuse now? Or they, sometimes women don't even know.
No.
Because sometimes it is mental. You know what I'm saying? It's a mental mind game, right? So what is a piece of advice that you would, let younger, older, whoever, just the viewers that's listening to your story, what do you want them to know about your situation that can help them?
I know we live in a world like if you tell,
right,
you're
you're
a snitch,
you're supposed to be
or
a
whatever
snitch.
it is.
Exactly.
Even not necessarily to the victim or the person or the survivor being abused. I would say, talk to your friends about it, and then that person being that friend or that sister or that family member, tell everybody.
Right.
Call the police, call your local women's shelter, and discuss this with them and try to get that person to tell, because, we just went through 2 murders in Rochester related to domestic violence. One was completely insane that I just have felt some sort of way since waking up and hearing that, it's been a
And then
real
sometimes,
burden.
do you feel like when you see other women's stories that you reliving yours?
Oh, all the time.
Do you feel frightened sometime or just anger? Because sometimes some people get more frightened or angry.
I used to be real angry about it. Like, it was really, really hard for me to, move on with my life. And, I don't, like this gentleman, and I'm not okay with the gentleman who was the abuser in this story. But at the same time, I had to forgive him, and I had to tell him that I forgave him so that I can move on with my life.
And did that help you? Like
it helped me a lot.
When you released the grudge.
It helped me with a lot. I had a pastor that helped me through that, and
really,
yeah.
And how did he act versus you saying, okay, I just let it go? You did me like this, but I let it go. How did he react to your kindness of
his way? He called himself apologizing. He thought what I was doing by forgiving him was apologizing, and I had to let him. I'm not apologizing for any of this. And his apology was, well, it was both of our faults.
No,
we're both to blame for that situation. And I was like, the conversation had to be ended.
Yeah, so he's still in he's in that stuck mind frame that he hasn't changed at all yet.
He hasn't changed a bit.
Right. So have you heard of him? Is he still in prison?
He got out of prison, and
I remember the day you told me he's getting out. He's getting out. You were scared.
Recently, and then he was out for a little while, and he caught a whole bunch of other charges.
Okay.
And had other domestics and taken
sexual
to jail
assault.
for sexual assault,
Really?
physical abuse, and went back to
Okay.
prison, and he is currently.
Okay. Well, I'm
serving
glad
time in
that
prison.
you didn't catch that end of that, you know, with the continuing. And do you think that as a society as a whole, like you said, like women sometimes tend to feel like no snitching, you know?
Right.
Why do you think that we do that? Because I have a problem with that too. Like you said, if someone does something to you, it's like, oh, I don't want to be the one to call the police. And it's
Right.
like, why? They're doing something to you,
Exactly.
you know? So how did you get the courage, you know, to say like, man, you put me in a hospital, you know, I'm secluded away from my family members, my friends, you know, no, this got to end right now. Because I'm pretty sure by you being in a relationship with him for 3 years, he wasn't just easily willing to, you know, let go. Because it even sounds like when you had explained to him, I'm going to, you know, forgive you, he's trying to double back to maybe try to convince you to get back in, you know?
Right.
So how did you deal with him being released? And I'm sure he's heard like, you know, you got a new man or you're with somebody else, you know. How did you?
When he first while he was in jail, not necessarily for that, because he caught a drug case in between the time of me being in the hospital and me getting out of the hospital.
Okay.
And he was in jail. I had a lot of support from official people in the community.
Okay.
And moved into a townhouse and started living my life and
Right.
just like changed my whole routine with my 2 kids.
Okay, good.
And I mean, he found me. He always seemed to find me, and it was always a problem.
Wow.
And I just.
And what did you do with when he found you? I mean, like, what did he say? What does he say even after?
A lot of times it was more abuse.
Really.
And then I would just have to flee from the home and go to like a friend's house. And just,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
to
So-
call the police.
Just constantly dodging him,
Yeah.
huh? Yeah.
So at this time, before the incident, you did have another child, right? Did you have any children?
I had 2 children.
Okay.
Okay.
I had
And
a 2-year-old.
did it happen with the kids there, or?
No, my kids weren't there, but his kids were present.
They were
His
present?
kids were present.
Wow. And what did they say?
He told his son not to call the police. I convinced his son after he left for work to call the police.
So he had
Right.
a lot of
But it
control.
wasn't told right away
Okay.
what had happened. Of course, I followed the pattern like there is to. It was more. I was more scared when they were asking me questions about if he did that. This person did that to me or not. To the point where I elaborated a whole crazy wild story about what really happened to me, and it wasn't until he started going to court for his drug case that the county attorney pulled me in. Like, look, if you tell your story and you read the victim impact statement, we can give him more time.
So you
Right.
wasn't telling. Okay, so how long after the incident, when you were in the hospital, you got out the hospital, and you still didn't tell the whole story? You told the whole story. How far of time was that? Because
Like the time of him going to jail versus the
and
time of
him
him
going to
doing
jail
that to you.
and him bailing out in 20-30 days maybe.
Okay.
Like less than a month.
So
I like left everything I had
Okay.
at where I was moving out of and just started over.
Okay. And how was starting over for you? What did that do for you, like mentally? Because, you know, when we're used to being comfortable, it's really hard adjustment to change into something new, you know?
It was lonely and it was depressing and the feeling of alone and sadness and not having anybody to really talk to that would really understand, and then me being embarrassed to talk about that situation. Like, why would anybody,
Right.
why would anybody want to be in that situation? And when I ask myself, I think about that every day. Why did you even put yourself in that situation? I'm still here to tell about it. So
Right.
there's a
lesson.
reason,
Right.
there's a complete reason why all this happened for me to be able to sit here and tell somebody.
And what can you help the viewers that are could be going through that situation or know someone that is, and they're in that space that you got through as far as I'm alone. I don't have anyone to talk to. This was normalcy to me. This was somebody that I thought loved me, that I was used to. How, what were things that you've done and how did you actually push through? Because that's very important and that's really strong of you for you to make it through that. Like, you know, cause like I said, you was with him for 3 years and you were used to him. So the routine plays back in your mind like, oh, okay, he said that. Well, I'm gonna move on, and then now it's physical, so it changed. That's never happened before, and you made it to the point where the alone stage or the loneliness to not double back. What did you do to get past that part?
I found somebody to just talk to. I went to therapy. I had advocates at the women's shelter that I could call. And even if I wasn't like really close to somebody, but somebody like showed me a little bit of affection or closeness, I was like, hey, you know.
Okay. So did you?
You have to start somewhere.
Do you say for yourself like? Because some men, this is why I'm asking you this, is because men will say, oh, you went through that with him and you're bringing that over here. You know, sometimes men think that. We sit and talk with our friends, or you know, someone trying to talk to us and they'll say like, oh, you're too bitter. They'll label you as the bitter
crazy
woman because somebody else did it to you, so I'm not doing it. And a lot of times I tell women that it has a lot to do with games. You know what I'm saying? For men to tell you, oh, you just going through, I'm not him. Everybody's not, you know, abusive or whatever. Did you ever go through that? Like meeting a new person and them saying to you, even if them not knowing till later that, you know, you went through your incident, I'm not bringing that baggage into this relationship. How did you deal with that to be successful in the, you know,
I
new
usually
relationship?
coped with that and did my therapy and did like some spiritual work within myself. I don't like just voluntarily put the information out there.
Okay.
And if they start like if the other person starts labeling me, oh, you're crazy, you got too much baggage.
Right.
That right there is emotional abuse and mental abuse. And I'm just like, I don't have to explain myself to you. You're either gonna understand what I've been through, and if you recognize that I'm going through something because of that, or then you're either going to be there or you're not going to be there. You're either going to be supportive or you're not going to be supportive. And if you're not, then I just need to keep moving.
Right.
Yeah, her situation is so different because her first hit was drastic.
Right.
I mean, I was in an abusive relationship and it was a tap here, you know what I'm saying? The next time, a punch, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Probably one time, oh, I'm sorry, you know, and then after that, it was
oh, I was drunk.
Hit me.
I had
Yeah,
to-
you know what I'm saying? It was
all those
excuse.
excuses.
You said this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I never told it. I never called the police on him or anything like that. But yeah, it's like our train of mind is like, I'm not gonna call the police. I don't want him to go to jail. You know, you end up going back with him. I think my last straw was when he hit me in the head with the shovel, and I had to go to the hospital with my kids. Well, not my kids, my sister, and them called the police and sent
You
them to
have
jail.
to.
Because you'll keep going back.
I think with the last two situations that have happened in Rochester with the domestic violence is a clear indication and a telltale and a warning to anybody. Look, if any of that is going on, you go talk to somebody.
Right.
You know, just latch on to somebody and just be, hey, this is going on and I don't want to go home.
Right.
You know, and if you're any sort of friend or person, you would, you know, try to help that
Trying
person.
to help them.
Or use your resources to get that person help.
And what resources can you tell the viewers that they should touch and get in touch with to get that help?
Rochester has a local women's shelter. That number's 285-1938.
Okay.
And then you just push 0 for an advocate and talk to them. You can go there, you know.
Okay.
There's Zumbrota Mental Health. Valley Mental Health offers like domestic violence meetings, and the women's shelter has a support group.
Okay.
I'm not sure what night of the week it is, but they, you know, they'll get you in that right direction so you're not holding on to all that and blaming yourself, because that's just going to make you a darker person and lead you into, you know.
Right.
Some people start using, you know, drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
Prime example of that. I turned to drugs to numb my pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't kill us only makes us stronger.
Right. Right.
And
Definitely.
ladies, look. Even some men get abused too. So just look at the
It's
red
definitely
flags.
not just women abusing men. Men
Yeah.
get abused by women also.
Yes, they do. And what do men do? I guess we need to talk to a man that's been, you know, abused too, because we're not, you know, one-sided. We know it happens both ways, you know. Yeah, well, we're glad that you came and
Thank
gave
you for
us.
sharing that.
Thank you for asking.
Yes, we very much appreciate it.
Hairstyle by Sade.
Oh yeah. Hey, no. So we're gonna wrap it up today, and we thank you guys for listening and tuning in, and meet us on our next podcast at Meet the Shoe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm in the right direction. I'm into this ocean, traveling in slow motion.